Hello and welcome to our podcast. This is Welcome to Livingstone, where we invite local businesses to come on and tell us about themselves and what they are doing in the community. My name is Don Putkela.
And I'm Angela Putkela, and we're with the Putkela Group Real Estate Professionals.
Yeah, and we are so excited for our show today. Today we have with us Michael Berry. He is
Michael Berry.
Dr. Michael Berry, yes.
Thank you.
with Conquer Chiropractic. Thank you so much for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me on and, talking me up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you come so highly recommended to us. Clark Bradley, who has, of course, been on our show before. He was the Christmas lighting guy as well as, co-work Brighton. He's into so many businesses with his wife. It's great. But my goodness, if I had a dollar for every time he talked to me about how great it would be to have you on, I'd treat you to lunch. I mean, he's definitely your biggest fan, I think.
Well, I'm not one to turn down food. So,
yes,
yes. But yeah, Clark's an awesome guy, and he's been just really fun to hang out with and learn from as well as he grows his businesses in the community as well.
Yeah, it is amazing that how so many of the small businesses, everybody kind of just, it's all the same circles. Everybody knows each other.
It's nice, though. It's a good community to grow a business in because we're all like, hey, we tried that. What did you try? And just kind of going from there and just help build each other up over time.
Yeah, a supportive atmosphere. So tell us about yours. Tell us about Conquer Chiropractic.
Yes, I've been actually in the Brighton area for about 4 years. I chose the best time ever to come and start a business, which was COVID. I picked up my whole family, everything. We just moved out here and we're like, all right, we're going to hit the ground running. We're going to start this practice. And that was March 15th is when we moved into our rental house. So I don't know if anyone remembers. 5 days later, everything shut down. And we're like, all right, let's go. We're going to do this. It's going to be amazing. And we're like, oh, pump the brakes. 3-month paternity leave for you. So it wasn't terrible, but I got to spend time with my son. But it's like not a good time to start a business. Then, so we don't count the COVID year, right? So, but I've been in Brighton for the past 4 years, growing my practice. It just it takes off, right? Over time, you start to build up, and it's been just an awesome experience being able to help the people in the community.
Makes a big difference. It's such a great community. And even it was during that time that we came up with, shortly coming off of it. So once everything was shut down and people all came moving into the county here, then in terms of all these small businesses that we love and support, and our clients asked, where do I go for this? What about that? We need a good chiropractor, then we've created Welcome to Livingstone to be able to be that resource to everybody.
So I wanted to ask you about, chiropractic is such a unique thing that either you know a lot about it or you don't know hardly anything about it. I find that there's not really a middle ground. So why don't you give us maybe a little bit of introduction to what it is you do and why people come to you.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure you're aware whenever somebody talks about chiropractic, you think about, the guy that pops your back, right? And it's like, I don't need that. I do this at home. And it's really funny because people are like, I did this and I hurt myself. And I'm like, really?
What are the odds
it's
of
like,
that?
Shocker. Your wife jumped on your back? Whoops. All right. But it's actually, it's a little bit more complex, so we're just going to kind of break it down in different parts, right? So there's a lot of philosophy that goes behind chiropractic here, but the general idea is there is a restriction in your movement and your body's ability to adapt to the stresses that are put upon it in your everyday life. So at a certain point, you reach this area where now it's very tight, it's painful, you can't move it, and you've tried everything else. A lot of the times chiropractic is like the last resort for people, but it shouldn't be. It should be the first one because it's not invasive. You're not getting injected with anything. And it really does help keep you away from surgeries and popping Advil and Aleve like it's candy, right? So when you go to see a chiropractor, and this is just my approach, what I do is I do a pretty extensive exam I go through. And people are like, wow, you do like a lot. And I'm like, well, I want to make sure you're okay. And we need to figure out what's actually going on so that we're not just, racking and cracking, but actually
get a good baseline.
Yeah.
Right?
Figuring out what it is that's hindering you and where we need to address. So we come in, we do an exam, x-rays if they're needed. We have that. love our digital x-ray, by the way. But then through that process, I can kind of determine what's going on, where it's coming from. And then I actually incorporate what I call muscle work, which is like trigger point therapy and a lot of pin and stretch exercises that help free up the range of motion before I deliver the adjustment. This is something that I really believe in, because if you're not addressing the muscle, when you adjust, the adjustment's not going to hold. It's just going to pull it right back out. So what I do is I strip the muscle down, I adjust to stabilize it, and then through that approach, people tend to get relief that lasts longer, and they notice results a little bit sooner as well. So it's all about freeing up the range of motion and making the body better able to adapt to the daily stressors throughout your life.
Excellent. And then I imagine that kind of frees up some of the pain or discomfort people are having as well.
Yeah, that's a nice side effect, right? So it's like, oh, wait, I'm not in pain anymore either. So that's helpful.
Yeah, because it must get, I'm not going to say frustrating, because you're helping everyone that comes in. But like you said, a lot of times you don't see someone till they're like, I can't stand up anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's basically what it is, right? But you've all seen the people just like, they'll sit in front of you and do this. And I just look at them, I'm like, you're my friend. I've known you for the past 3 years. I'm like, I can help you. Like, does your neck hurt? Right. Or people just accept, I have a headache.
That's a good point too.
Every day in the morning, right? It goes away. I take some Aleve and it goes away by the end of the day. But it's like every day. I'm like, that's not normal.
Exactly. Newsflash. Yep.
Right. Yeah. It's not always just old age, and people think it's, I'm getting older. Well, yeah, you're getting older, but you're there to address some of the underlying problems that may have built up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So like over time, think about it like a hose, right? Your garden hose is starting to kink slowly over time. And then eventually the flow is not happening. Well, that's like, you can take that into the nervous system. If you have what's called a subluxation, when the bone is out of alignment, it's impeding the body's ability to communicate with itself. So what I do is deliver a specific chiropractic adjustment, which then removes the confusion. The body's now better able to communicate with itself. So now you've influenced the neurology, the muscles that it affects, and then also the inflammation in the area. And people don't think about it like that.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good perspective on it. Now, how often should somebody come and see a chiropractor, do you think?
It just depends on the person, right? The person that's like, someone's stabbing me in the side, they're going to need to come a little bit more. But if people just want to maintain their current status, we always have like what I consider maintenance care is like once or twice a month. If you just if you want nothing to change, right? If you're feeling good and you're like, I don't really think that I need it, then I kind of meet people where they're at in that regard. But if they're in pain, it's like, hey, we need to address it, and then we can talk about maintenance care. Because the funny thing is everyone thinks they need maintenance care. Then you talk to them, then there's the classic example, I have a headache every day. It's like, oh, we're not focusing on the right thing here.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. Just getting to the root of everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So then, you take insurance then as well, right?
Yeah. So I'm in network with a few different insurances. There's a huge list. So like the major ones are Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Aetna. And then there's a couple other ones. I have those on my website. They're just, I can't remember the whole list off the top of my head, right?
No worries.
It's a very common question.
And we'll have your website in the show notes for people, and we'll review that at the end too. So that way they'll be able to kind of check that out. But for somebody, I feel like, especially even when it's health, people kind of draw back to go, I don't know if my insurance covers that. It seems like that would be a good thing to just check out, reach out. If you accept a number of different health insurance companies, if it's covered, then why not come and feel better? Oh,
absolutely. And what people don't realize is that I can look it up. You give me, like, if you want to know what your coverage is, I can look it up. They make it very easy for us to tell you, like, hey, this is what's going on. Right now, we're just seeing this like shift with insurance, right? So like if you are in pain and having a lot of issue, insurance covers it. When you're like on what they consider maintenance care, they don't want to pay for it. So the nice thing about that is that even if we're out of network with your insurance, or insurance isn't going to continue to pay for maintenance care, we have subscriptions that we offer to our clients and our patients so that it makes the care still affordable and we find one that works for them.
Perfect. That's a great way to do that, to be able to just meet people where they're at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We find it, they like the flexibility.
Right.
Right.
And still getting the great service that they've gotten.
Right. And I find, I've been to a chiropractor a couple times over the years, but it's all about finding where you're at as a patient, right? And seeing what's needed to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of individualized care.
It is. And if you were to come in and you're like, hey, I just want to get adjusted here and there. It's like, okay, here's the recommendation. And then I'm not a hard sell person. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, it's all or nothing. You have to sign up for a treatment plan and do this, 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 and this. Otherwise I won't take care of you.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't think that fits everybody's idea of what they want. Granted, I'm always going to provide you with like the gold standard of care because that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. I care about how you're going to be feeling better and how to get you there. When people are in pain, that's easy, right? Because they use pain as a measuring tool for, okay, now I feel better. And so they tend to base a lot of that off of that. If someone comes in and we're looking at their x-rays, I'm like, you have a scoliosis. If you want to address that and prevent it from getting worse, this is what we need to do. And at that point, that's like, here's the information. Do with it what you will.
Got you. So what are the more common things that you see people coming in for? Is there anything that's like the most common thing?
The most common is definitely the headaches and the lower back pain and sciatica. Those are like the trademark, this is what's going on. Sometimes people will seek out chiropractic care first for disc bulge and disc herniation, which is a safe and effective tool. It takes a little bit longer than surgery, but we're not cutting you open and causing permanent things. I'm sure you've heard about, you got a spine surgery, you got a disc herniation repair, and then another one, and then another one, and then now you have a fusion, and then another fusion, because what happens is they fuse that motion segment, and it doesn't move. So that extra movement that you need for your day-to-day life comes from above that area and below it. So that just picks up extra wear and tear. So that's what ends up resulting in more surgeries and more fusions. So it's really important to get that consistency because, one, low back pain isn't normal. Headaches are not normal, but non-invasive, effective chiropractic care can definitely be something that will help with those.
Excellent. So it's kind of a preventative thing in a lot of ways then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And especially if it's the muscles above and below, then at that point in time, the pressure that must put on those, you really want to make sure for somebody who has had a surgery or whatnot that you're taking care of things so it doesn't have to keep repeating.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's food for thought.
Yeah.
Now, we also saw on your website massage therapy. Is that something also?
Yes. Oh, we love our massage therapist. Her name is Dawn. She's been with us for, I believe, about the last 2.5 years. Amazing. She's very well versed in a lot of different techniques. She went to a school called Health Enrichment Center. So when you're talking about the massage therapy book, the person that started Health Enrichment Center wrote the book.
Wow.
Right. So everyone uses it. It's widely accepted. And she wanted to learn from the best. So she went to the best. And it definitely shows. We love her. She does such a good job. Our patients rave about her. And we just, never look back since she started working with us and really enjoy her. So
it's fantastic. Nice to have that other option to offer to clients. And even one of our clients gets regular massages in general that the insurance covers. And so that's kind of amazing. Are you finding that with some of the insurances that they cover the massage therapy?
So for us, for massage therapy, we actually just do straight cash.
Okay.
It's easier. There's no fighting with insurances about getting
right,
paid.
because it seems like that would be sort of a funny thing, a little tougher to.
We don't have a whole billing department dedicated to it, right? Like your hospital will, right?
Yeah.
They have 27 to 30 people, right, that work just billing for a hospital, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true. That's crazy.
that's just one department. We don't have that. So we're like, hey, you know what? We can offer and focus more on patient care if we just do massage cash.
Yes.
It may or may not be more cost effective too for people to not go through insurance, because insurance tends to be they accept certain things and not others. So then you have to come back and collect on what you billed to insurance, and it can be more expensive that way too.
That's
That
a good
makes
point.
sense,
Yeah, because you don't necessarily always know what's covered or whatnot. Or so, but yeah. So in terms of massages, it's always good, because sometimes people, they don't know where to go for that, or maybe a salon or something, which obviously isn't going to necessarily have the level of quality that Dawn.
Right, something we
do.
bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
And while you do not have to be a chiropractic patient to receive a massage from our massage therapist, if you do choose to do so, we talk to one another. That's unheard of, right? It's like we actually value each other's input, because one, she's just spent an hour with you, right?
Yeah.
She's never been wrong, not in the entire time she's been with me. But if she ever tells me to focus on something, or like, hey, check this out, I look, because she just spent a bunch of time with them and she's not wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
But even with that, with the chiropractor or with the massage therapy and such, it's amazing how much better the body feels a lot of times after that. That like you don't realize the stress that people don't realize the stress that they put their body under on a daily basis.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. I've had people come in, they're like, I feel fine. It's like you start getting into the muscles and it's all whacked out. Like, I don't do anything. I said, well, how long, like, where do you work? I work in Troy. Like, that's a 45-minute drive on a good day right now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, is driving stressful? Well, I don't think so. I'm like, your body does. You're wearing your shoulders as earrings. It's oh. And then that guy cuts you off and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in construction here in Michigan, right?
oh my gosh, yeah, just double your commute time. It's fine, right? It's just, it is what it is. But
since people think of it as part of everyday life, and I don't think people necessarily really delve in and think through the stress that it could cause your body.
no, and they don't. And they shouldn't have to. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right. So what caused you to get into chiropractic work?
Personal injury, actually. So I was a football player and a swimmer, and got ankle sprains quite a few times. My last one, I had like a high ankle sprain, which means it's gone up the leg. So typically in a normal ankle sprain, you'll see the ligaments get rolled and stretched and torn, and that's like your typical ankle sprain. But then a high ankle sprain is when there's the connective tissue between the two bones in your leg tears up that line. So that's like a high ankle sprain. So my previous experience with that was like you're on crutches for a few weeks, and then you're kind of like easing into like getting weight bearing. The last time I had a bad injury like that, I went and saw my chiropractor, and he worked on it, and he was one that focused on muscle as well. It did not feel good. It hurt, but we definitely earned it that day. But I was able to bear weight in a walking boot within a week. And then my recovery time was cut in half. And I was like, wow, this is truly amazing. I want to do that for somebody else. I want somebody else to come to me with something like this, or a problem, and I want to fix it for them and just get them back on their feet as quick as possible, because that's all anyone wants. They just want to go play with the grandkids, throw ball with their son, their daughter, they just want to go back to living life without having this pain, right?
Yeah.
So that was my sophomore year of high school. Never looked back, never changed my plan. It was just like straight through.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
and at
amazing.
that age to just know is really, truly exceptional. Now, is there anything special that you've come across that you'd be able to share with us? Like, I mean, what have you seen? What's something that's been crazy?
The one that was like really stuck with me over the years was there's a guy who was coming in, just terrible pain, had no outlet, didn't know what to do. And working with him for, I think we did like 3 months, and he was just still having an issue. And finally we're like, hey, it's not working. We might need to look at an alternative. So he went and got advanced imaging. He got an MRI. And what had happened is his disc had herniated and then protruded out and down into his sacral foramen, which is a little hole in your butt bone that the nerves drop down. But the disc had protruded down in there and calcified. So, ouch. And he brings me his report. He goes, I don't know. Can you tell me what it is? And I said, well, it's a chunk about this big that went down into your sacral foramen, your butt bone, and calcified. And that's where your pain came from. It was literally pressing on the nerve.
Wow.
I mean, at that point, you just have to accept that you can't help everybody. But it was like that referral, too, was important for him because it changed his life. Because now he's like, hey, thanks for working with me this long. I know we noticed some improvement, but then it's like, all right, we need to look at the bigger picture and see what's going on. So that might have been one of the craziest things that I had.
Yeah. And to be able to delve into that, now at least he knew what was wrong with them. Because I imagine for people, that's the hardest part is they're suffering pain and they don't even know where to begin.
Mm-hmm. I think another one that was really funny. I was newer in town, right? And then someone walks in and I don't know what they were doing, but all I remember he's like, hey, he dislocated his knee. And I was like, go to the ER. I'm like, I can't, that's a lot of work. Those muscles are really big. It's possible with like 4 people.
Wow.
So I was like, he's like, I think he dislocated his knee. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to go straight to the hospital because there's nothing I can do for that.
Right. You're a chiropractor, not a miracle worker.
Like, I'm strong, but I'm not that strong.
Yeah, that's a lot. And people don't know.
Right.
They don't know what they don't know.
And a lot of times it's just being able to be that person to answer the right questions, point them in the right direction, or work with them and give them that, start of healing or start of movement. Because a lot of times some of these people, I assume, they've gone to this doctor, they're on these pills, they're doing this, and those things haven't worked. And being able to take a step back and have someone that's willing to put in the time and really help out.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. People, they get frustrated. They've tried this, that, and the other thing, and they're coming in and they're just depressed. Let's be honest, they're just upset. And the first thing I say to them, I'm like, you're allowed to be mad. Like, you can be pissed off about it. That's okay. Right. I mean, it's been going on for how long? And there's no resolution. And I just tell them, like, look, I'm going to do everything I can. And I really do care about how you're feeling right now. And I want you to feel better. So I'm going to do everything that I can. And sometimes you get a win and you can help them out. And other times it's like, hey, we've tried, but there's something we're missing. Right.
Mm-hmm. I imagine it's kind of like being a detective in a way, right? Because you're just trying to, sort out. And people probably have more than one issue a lot of times, right?
Yeah, because the body's a system, right? Yeah. So we're not just fixing one part. If anyone ever saw me while they're face down, they're like running through, and I'm like, okay, what about this? And probably make a lot of funny faces as I'm like working them up and trying to figure out, okay, so if this is happening, then this is going on over here, and then that could be this. And they just feel me poking them. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm hunting. I'm hunting for your problem right now. And they're like, ooh, you find that spot, and they jump off the table. They're like, that's it. And I'm like, I know. There's a lot of muscle tension here too, believe it or not. But once you start stripping that down, while you earn it, they do tend to feel better.
Good. Right. Because I assume, if you're taking, like you said earlier, the Advil or the Aleve, right? So if you're taking Advil and Aleve every day to be able to move around, it's not that the pain isn't there; it's that you're just not feeling it. It's still happening, right?
Yeah, just you're masking it, right?
Right.
So the similar effect is achieved through alcohol, right? It's like, hey, nothing hurts right now because I'm loaded. So yeah, you're invincible at that point, right? But then you sober up and you're like, wow, I'm immobile right now. I'm stuck in bed. So
because the pills never did anything to fix the problem.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
It made you be able to do stuff that makes it angry.
Right.
Helps the muscles get more irritated.
Yeah.
Right,
Got to
yeah.
work with your body.
Yeah. As people get older, do they end up coming to the chiropractor more, or is there a rhyme or reason to that?
Sometimes. I don't know if you've ever heard of stubborn mules, right? That's a lot of people, right? They're like, I'm fine. It usually goes away. All the ice, I'll take a leave, I'll stretch. And it's like, you get people coming in, they're like, oh, yeah, it usually gets better. It didn't this time. Now it's like 10 times worse because I waited 3 months. Like, as far as ages go, you can't fix stubborn, right? And usually you see a lot of the husbands because the wife was like, get over there. And every once in a while, yes, okay, a husband will be like telling the wife, all right, you need to go over there. They say it a lot nicer, right? The husbands are like, oh, sweetie, I think this would help. As far as ages go, it's variable, right? People, something clicks and they're like, I need help. And you're never too old or too young for that. And it's always good to seek a non-invasive method first, because you don't want to go to the ER and get a lumbar epidural spinal injection, which is like a steroid shot, and then like migraine's like a migraine cocktail. They just give you a bunch of meds and hopefully it helps the migraine. But it's tough, and you're seeing now more that people want to do the non-invasive because we've watched our parents. And our parents are getting surgeries, infusions, and we're like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they run from it, essentially. They're like, I want to do the non-invasive first because I saw my parents. And like for like you guys, your grandparents, right? It's like, oh, they smoked like a chimney and they died at 67, right? It's like, I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
So
Right.
That's true. It's those lifestyle choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a big difference.
I was going to say the shift to like taking care of your body, making sure that it's working for you and actually helping it heal has been dramatic over the past 10 years.
That's fantastic culturally, just for that change. And I think that's just better for the quality of life for people.
Right. There's that whole holistic approach now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I want to touch on migraines, because you did say headaches, and certainly a lot of people have those, but I have certainly known a number of people over the years that had migraine issues. And so the chiropractic, does that kind of help with that as well?
Yeah, and I actually take migraines personally. My wife suffered from migraines. It was like when we were dating, we'd go out to eat, and she's like, here's my car keys. Can you take me home?
Wow.
I was like, a couple years of that, it was done, right? She gets aura, and then she'll have a migraine, and then she's done for the day. It's over. It doesn't matter if it's 8 o'clock in the morning or it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's it. Date's over. Go home. So my approach, I have a little bit more of an aggressive approach. The trigger point that I do in the neck to alleviate some of that tension that's built up because of the migraine. It's an aggressive approach, but it yields results. A lot of the times, if it's not better or completely gone, then it is better. And the only thing that we haven't been able to do is get rid of that energy drain afterwards, because it is taxing on the body. So where we can get rid of the pain, the auras, and everything else, just that drain from the actual migraine is hard to...
Exhaustion.
Yeah, but once they get the treatment, especially with active migraines, they can usually go on about their day. Their day doesn't get cut short or anything like that. And I tell them all the time, I said, don't not come in because you have a migraine. Come in because there's no sense in feeling like crap for 1-2 days.
Right. And to have a fix that isn't sticking more chemicals into your body.
Mm-hmm. Because the migraine cocktail is like if you go to the ER with a migraine, they're like, here you go. It's like darts.
Right.
Right at the dartboard, it's like one of them will stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because so much of that is figuring out what the triggers are, and then also, like you said, figuring out what you can do to help that healing of that. Because, I mean, I used to suffer from migraines. My trigger, I have a food allergy, and that's what triggers it and such. But figuring out what those things are can change somebody's life, being able to solve a chronic problem that's affected the way that they live.
Yeah. And it's not always simple either.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, it's hidden things. My sister had migraines when she was little. I mean, she was little, and she was having chronic migraines, and she had something that was, it's called basilar invagination. So essentially her skull, the bottom of her skull, like kind of sat down over her first bone in her neck.
Wow.
And it caused pressure and like a tumor that grows in the spinal cord and that kind of stuff. And the solution for that is surgical, intervention. Mm-hmm. They have to shave things down and get things appropriate so that the pressure isn't causing issue. But it's hard. You try to do everything else, and I can't even imagine what my parents went through with that, right? They're like, oh, this is our baby girl. Like, we can't figure this out. And, we're just, stupid older brothers. Like, oh, yeah, whatever. It really affected her in that early stage of her life. So we were just like elated that she was able to get that resolved. And I was in college at that point. So if I was 19, she would have been 15 when it was finally resolved. Wow. So
it's astounding. But those are huge things. And so for, any migraine sufferers out there that maybe haven't tried chiropractic as a solution, that might be a good option just to check out.
Yeah.
In terms of alleviating that.
Highly recommend it. If not me, somebody, please. Like, you don't have to live with that.
I wouldn't have thought of that. So yeah. No, that's great.
That is really good. And I think a lot of those things, people don't realize what a chiropractor can do for you for adjusting the body in terms of what's causing your pains. And a lot of people, I wouldn't have put together that headache is being caused by, your nerves, that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense.
Right? Yeah. But people tend to ignore those things instead of going in and saying, hey, would you rather deal with the problem or deal with finding a solution? And you're there to help them find that solution.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun for me. I shouldn't smile as much when I'm treating people, but I smile a lot just because it's fun and they feel better, and that makes me happy. So it's like the whole reason I'm there is to help you. And if you feel better, I'm happy about it.
Exactly. Yeah, because goodness knows by that point, the patient should be happy about it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes a difference. So how can our listeners find out more about your practice? And
so I have a Facebook. I have an Instagram. Those are available. It's easy to find, Conquer Chiropractic. And then we have our website, which is www.conquerchiropractic.com. And then we also have online booking. That's a really long URL, but it's hyperlinked on our website, and then it's also on our Instagram there as well.
And we'll put some of these things on our show notes so that way our listeners will be able to access those as well.
Yep. And where are you located?
So I'm sure by now everyone knows where Crumble Cookie is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm right next door.
We had him on very recently, by the way.
Oh, he's an awesome guy. Yeah. Super nice. But I'm
Bobby.
Right next door. Yep. So Bobby and his Bronco, we see it a lot.
There you go.
His hot pink Bronco, right?
Yeah. So, if you're going to Crumble Cookie, know that, hey, Dr. Michael Berry, his office is right over there. Or, maybe it's a treat for yourself. You're not sure if you want to come in or not. Say, well, but then maybe after I can go get a cookie.
Right. A little bit of a risk and a high reward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Just balancing out the universe.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. You need it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So great. So we definitely know where that's at, and that's kind of neat. Like I said, it wasn't long ago that we had him on. So
good. Well, no, it's been really great talking with you today. Anything at all we missed that you think we need to add about your business?
I don't think so. Just if there's one thing, just want to emphasize, I really do care about how people leave. Obviously, they're coming in because they're in pain. I want them to feel better, and I want them to have a life that they want to live and not have to think about aches and pains down the line.
Good for you. That's so fantastic. And that really comes through.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you joining us today, Michael. And it was really interesting to get to know you better and chiropractic. I don't believe we've had a chiropractor at all.
No, you are our first chiropractor on our show. So this is great.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah. Well, everyone out there, please check him out. Check out on socials and such, go to his website. If you are looking for a good chiropractor, he is the best place to go here in Brighton to just start off and go in and, like he said, get a cookie afterwards, because we know where that is, next to Crumble Cookie. So thank you so much. Please check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts.
Even YouTube.
So please like and subscribe. And thank you so much for listening today. And welcome to Livingston.